Morning, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Good morning. Okay, I was wondering, I can't hear anybody. All right, very cool. I think we can get going. Marion is here, ready to go, and Steve is here. We can get going. I think Raf is here too, and everybody else will be joining in a couple minutes. So I'll do introductions, and then we can get started. So this afternoon we are, well, afternoon in the US. I think it's early evening in Nairobi. We are going to get a presentation from CDSC. I have posted a couple places about a particular form that a lot of people fill out. CDSC, I think 1A. And then I came to find out that it's not just 1A. Actually, they have, I think, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 7. I didn't even know there are other forms associated with this. So we're going to get a wonderful presentation from Marion and Steve here. And this is their website. If you've never been here, take a minute to browse through their contact, what they do. It's a wonderful place. Let me also share something here that this is the form that I was talking about, the CDSC form 1, I think it's 1A, I think, yeah, 1A. So this is the form that most people fill out if they want to purchase shares at Nairobi. So we want to know who they are and what they do. I'm going to turn it over to Marion so that she can get going. If you want to ask any questions, go ahead and use the chat box. Just send a question there. She will try and answer those questions along the way. If not, she will definitely answer all those questions towards the end. All right, so I'll stop sharing here and I can welcome Marion and Steve. I don't know whether Marion, you'd like to say something about Steve, or you just want to get going. It's really up to you. So go ahead, Marion, welcome. And the floor is yours now.
Yes, good afternoon on your side. For us, it's good evening.
Yes.
And thank you once again for this opportunity to present to you what we do as CDSC. I want to give Steve just a short chance to just introduce himself.
Okay. Thanks, Marion. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can, Steve. Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Marion, and thank you, Pete, for organizing this session. I work with Marion at CDSC, and we are happy to be here, hoping to serve you and hear what you guys have thoughts about CDSC, how we can assist you, how we can facilitate your needs, and see where we can also offer the services that we can offer to you guys in the diaspora. And if possible, then you guys can also start investing or continue investing in our market. So I hope to learn more from both sides as we get along. I'll be also helping Marion with answering the queries should they be posted as she does her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I think I'll go straight into the presentation in order to save on time. And let me just share my screen. Yes, confirm that you can view my screen well.
Yes, we can.
Yes, maybe let me just introduce myself. My name is Marion Kioi. I'm the General Manager for Client and Intermediary Services at CDSC. The division Client and Intermediary Services basically is the one that deals with all the CDSC processes in terms of depository services and the clearing and settlement services. Now, today we want to cover some history on who CDSC is and what our role is. And then we'll look at how do you get started in the capital markets, then an overview of the capital markets, and then we'll end with the CDSC products and services. Then after that, we can then take the questions. Then in terms of who we are, CDSC, we shortened the name to CDSC because it's quite a long name. It's a Central Depository and Settlement Corporation Limited. That is our full name. And we are a limited liability company. We are not a government institution. We are a private company owned through shares. We have several shareholders in terms of companies that own CDSC, which constitute the Nairobi Securities Exchange. There's what we call the Challenge Fund, which is a conglomerate of some issuers like EABL, Stanbic, Britam, and several other. There's a total of 9 companies that came together to form the Challenge Fund, and they own 50% of CDSC. So the main shareholders is the Challenge Fund, the NSC, and then there's an association of stockbrokers that also owns part of CDSC. Now, we are licensed by the Capital Markets Authority, and our work basically is to provide automated clearing, delivery, and settlement services for all the transactions that are carried out at the NSC, as well as holding of both listed and unlisted securities. So that means we can also provide services for OTC securities, securities that don't trade on the NSC. Then in terms of some history, these are some of the milestones that we have gone through. The Central Depositories Act, the act upon which then CDSC was formed, was passed in the year 2000. And then CDSC commenced operations in the year 2004. That's when we started immobilizing. Before that, when you bought shares, you would be given a certificate as proof of ownership of the shares. But when we started operations in 2004, we came in with the central depository system, where now when you buy shares, they are deposited into your CDS account. Then in 2008, we launched an SMS service where clients were getting alerts on SMS whenever a transaction is done in their account. Then between the year 2011 and 2020, we also started registry services, where we formed a company called CDSC Registrars, but we sold out the company last year in 2020. Then between the year 2012 and 2014, there was the dematerialization process. This is basically just converting all shares into electronic form, and the declaration that for all listed securities can only be held in electronic form and not certificates. That means from the year 2014, no one was allowed to issue certificates for shares that are listed at the NSC. Now, in 2016, we went through some branding, where we renewed our commitment to make progress possible by technology to offer secure, efficient custody, clearing, and settlement services. Then in 2017, we launched the Emakiba bond, which is the world's first mobile traded government infrastructure bond. Then between 2018 and 2020, we have launched several products and services. The first one was the CDSC mobile app, which is available on for both iOS and Android. And any investor is able to download the app and register and log in and be able to view their account. Then we launched securities lending and borrowing last year. And this year we have launched the Mkopohisa. Mkopohisa is a mobile-based platform where you can use your shares as collateral to get a loan from the bank. Now, in terms of an overview of the capital markets, the regulator is the Capital Markets Authority, and they're the ones who license the institutions that participate in the capital markets. And those institutions include the Nairobi Securities Exchange, ourselves, the CDSC, Then under us, we have what we call CDAs, that is the Central Depository Agents. They include the brokers and the custodians. Brokers are the ones that are able to trade directly on the NSE, but custodians hold custody of clients' securities, but the brokers are the ones who trade on behalf of the custody clients. Then we have the issuers. These are the companies that issue shares that are listed on the exchange. And then the issuers also appoint registrars to take care of the corporate actions like the dividend payments, the bonus and splits, and also other corporate activities like AGMs. Then we have the investors. Of course, the investors open accounts under the Central Depository Agents. Then in terms of the roles of the key players, as we said, the Capital Markets Authority, they're the regulator. They're the ones who license participants. They regulate the capital markets and ensure fair play. They approve IPOs and listings. They also provide investor education and protection. And they also do market surveillance to ensure that the market is run in a good way. Then when it comes to CDSC, as I said, we hold all securities, and that is equities, the shares that are listed, and the corporate bonds. We hold those in our system. Then we maintain the official register of all listed securities. This means that even when the registrar wants to do an AGM or they want to do a dividend or any other corporate action, we are the ones who provide them with the register that is in our system. Then we also offer clearing and settlement services, and that is when you buy shares or when you sell shares, we're the ones who would move the shares from the seller's account to the buyer's account and also make sure that the seller is paid. Well, when it comes to the NSE, the NSE takes care of listings. They list the securities on the exchange after approval. They provide the platform where trading takes place, where the actual buying and selling takes place. They provide that platform. They also provide market information, like the price. Like if you log into their website, you can see the market information in terms of pricing. Then also they provide the announcements in terms of corporate actions and any other announcements from the companies. When a company issues any notice, the exchange also provides that information. Then other players include the Central Depository Agents, because we operate in an agency model. We don't deal directly with clients. We have appointed agents who are the ones now that deal directly with the clients. So the Central Depository Agents are the ones who open the CDS accounts on behalf of the investors. They also provide a platform where the clients access the capital markets, whether it's trading, whether it's depository services. So they're the ones who provide the clients with a platform for access. Then they also receive and they execute the instructions provided by the investors, like buying and selling. And then they also facilitate any CDS related requests. Like for example, if a client who wants to transfer their shares from one broker to another, or they want to deposit their certificates, they go through the CDA. Then when it comes to the issuers, they're the ones who issue shares, as I said. They're the ones who do IPOs when they want to do new shares. Then they also provide the financial performance updates, and they share their company information with the investors. And that is so that the investors are able to make informed decisions when buying or selling shares. Then we have the registrars. As I said earlier, they keep a record also of the listed securities. They maintain and update the register of shareholders or bondholders. and then they pay dividends to investors, and they also do other corporate actions like bonuses, splits, right issues, and they also provide the services for the AGM. Now, why should people invest in shares? Shares sort of have an advantage over other investments. First one being that they're highly liquid. In case you had invested in shares and you urgently need money, then you can quickly just sell the same at the exchange and get your returns. Then it's also a way of diversifying the risks. Instead of investing everything in one place, you can invest in shares. You can invest in shares, bonds, and other investment avenues. They offer better returns, though they are more risky, but they have the opportunity of offering better returns. Then they can be used as collateral to secure loan facilities. As I said, if you hold shares in your CDS account and you don't intend to sell them, you can use them as collateral for the bank to give you a loan. Then they have an advantage, a tax advantage for all shares that are listed at the NSC. They are exempt from the capital gains tax. That means when you buy shares, then you sell them later and you get a profit, you are not taxed for the capital gains. Then it's a good way to accumulate savings, such that even if it's small amounts that you save every month and invest in the in buying of shares, you can accumulate your wealth that way over a period of time. Then the participants and the products are all licensed and approved by the Capital Markets Authority. Now, when it comes to opening a CDS account, because to participate at the NSC, to buy or sell shares, you have to have a CDS account, because that is the account that will hold your securities once you buy them. As I said, since the year 2012, the market was declared dematerialized, and that meant that everyone that needs to buy or sell shares, the shares must be mobilized in a CDS account. So the opening of the CDS account is done by the broker or the custodian. We have the list of all the approved brokers and custodians, or the central depository agents, on our website under the Investor Education tab. Then when you want to open an account, what you use is a CDS1 form, not the 1A. 1A is for lifting of dormancy, but we have the CDS account, CDS1 form, which is the one you use for opening a CDS account. Then you're required to provide a copy of your ID or passport. If you're a resident, then you would need to provide the KRA PIN. But if you're non-resident, you don't need to provide the KRA PIN. Then you also need to provide the passport size photo, recently taken passport size photos. For companies, you need to provide the registration certificates, copies of IDs of the directors, the photos of the directors, among other documents that are also listed in the requirements on the websites. Now, when it comes to our products and services, the first thing we'll talk about is the clearing and settlement. As I said earlier, when you buy or sell shares, you expect that if you have bought shares, you'll receive your money, and when you sell, when you buy shares, you'll receive your shares, and when you sell, you'll receive your money. So we are the ones that are there in the background to ensure that for sure you will receive what you have bought, or you'll receive your money. So our settlement is on a T+3 cycle. It means that when you trade today, settlement happens 3 days later. And this is because it is important to give that period for especially the international clients to be able to avail the funds and the instructions in time for settlement. So from the, I think most markets in the world settle on a T+3 cycle, or at the very least on a T+2 cycle, because they need to enable that process of the clearing of the transactions before the actual final settlement is done. Then the settlement of securities is done in the CDS system, of course, because the securities are held in the CDS system. But the movement of funds is done on several levels. The first level is at the broker or the custodian, because of course each broker, each custodian has several clients. Some are buying, some are selling, so they'll collect from the ones that are buying and pay the ones that are selling. Then the overall obligation that needs to move to the other broker, for example, that settles at the settlement banks. We have a list of 10 settlement banks who perform settlement on our behalf. And then the ultimate settlement happens at the central bank, where our system automatically generates a file that goes to the central bank, and the central bank system picks up the file and does the transfer of funds. When that is done, the CBK system also sends back an acknowledgement, which is the one that then triggers the movement of securities in our system. This whole process is put that way to ensure that the delivery versus payment is met according to the international standards, because we have to ensure that the time between when the funds move and the securities move is as close as possible, and the securities only move once funds have already moved. And that is one of the ways that we guarantee and ensure that whoever sells securities will be paid and whoever buys will receive their securities. Now, another service we offer is the transfer of securities, because we have many central depository agents, and the investor might choose to move from one agent to another. So that transfer is called an on account transfer. And if you check on our website, there's a form that is called a CDS 4A/B form, which is the one that facilitates the movement of shares from one broker to another. Then we also have the private transfers. Now, private transfers is where there's an actual move of securities from one person to another, or a company to another, where there's an actual change of beneficial ownership. For example, in the case of a deceased person transferring the securities to their beneficiary, or in case of a gift transfer, like for close relations like husband, wife, children, brother, sister, a relation that can be proved with a document like a birth certificate or a marriage certificate. It is allowed that they can do a transfer of the securities from one to the other. And that is one of the types of private transfers. Now, when it comes to pledges and releases, as I said, this is the using securities as collateral to get a loan from a financial institution. That the pledging is done using the CDS5 form. The releasing is done using the CDS6 form. But as I said earlier, we launched a new product this year where the pledging can be done electronically, where the client does not have to use the physical forms. They use their mobile phone to initiate the borrowing from the bank, and then the financier communicates the pledge to us directly. Now, in terms of investor services, we have the CDSC mobile app, which you can download from Google Play or from the App Store. And once you download the app, you can register. You just follow the prompts and register. I think what you need probably is your CDS account number and your ID number. The app, what the app does, it enables you to follow on your investments in real time. Because we no longer have the SMS service that gives you the alerts or where you can query your account, now we have the mobile app where you can check your account any time or day or night. You can view your transaction history. You can receive alerts for transactions. Then you can also view your personal account information, like your addresses, your bank details, and such other information that is captured in your account. Other services that we have is the securities lending and borrowing services. When it comes to SLB, the idea is that when you're holding shares in your account for the long-term basis, you can lend them out and earn some additional income from those shares. We have launched a platform where the investors are able to lend their securities, and through the SLB agents. We have the SLB agents listed here, and we also have the same information on our website. If you go to our website under securities lending and borrowing, you can get a lot of information of what SLB is all about, how it's undertaken, the benefits, and everything to do with securities lending and borrowing. And you'd probably wonder who would borrow the securities and for what reason. And the short of it is that, as we are aware, markets always go up and down. Security prices will go up sometimes, and sometimes they will go down. So, for example, a broker or a market maker can view the market, analyze the securities. When they value the securities and they see a particular security is overpriced, the price at which it's selling at the NSE is much higher than its value, they can decide to short that security. That means they sell the security after borrowing from another party who wants to lend the securities. So they sell when the price is still high. Then after some time, of course, the market will correct and the price of that security will go back down. When the price goes back down, then they are able to use this less money to buy back the securities, meaning that they make a profit from the difference in price. So as I said, there's a lot more information on our website about securities lending and borrowing. Now, other services we have is the account maintenance. You may need to change your address. You may need to provide your bank details so that you get your dividends directly. Or you may want to update your email or telephone number. That is possible. Currently, it's being done manually using the CDS1 form, but we are in the process of implementing some APIs that will enable automated capturing of those changes. I think we will keep you posted and inform you once that is ready and in place, but meanwhile, you can be able to view your account using the app. But in the near future, you'll be able to also maintain your accounts. Then we provide statements on a monthly basis for active accounts, either via the post office or through email. So it's important to always ensure that your account has an email address so that you can always receive your statement. Then I've already talked about Mkopo Hisa. Then there's the issue of dormancy. Now, in 2019, we put in place the dormancy process. And this is because we felt that it's important to ensure clients' securities are safe. And in order to ensure that no one will access an account because it has not been used for a long time. Maybe someone can think of taking an advantage because this account is not being used for a long time and they think that maybe the client will not find out. So what we decided to do is to declare dormancy. So if an account has stayed for a period of over 24 months without any activity, no buying, no selling, no transfer, no activity, then the account is declared dormant. However, the reactivation of the account is quite easy, and that is where you use the CDS1A form for activating the account. You just fill in the few details on the form and submit to the central depository agents, who then initiates the process of lifting of dormancy. This is one of the other processes that will also move to the automated platform once we finish installing the APIs that are necessary to facilitate this. So that is the end of my presentation. I hand over back to you, Pete, for the question and answer session.
Very, very good. That's a very thorough presentation. And I think Steve already gave out a list of approved agents. Now, the one question I didn't know that you are a limited liability company. Can you explain what that means? Because I thought you are actually a government agency.
Yes, we are not a government agency. We are a private company, just like NSC is a private company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are also a private company. When we were formed, okay, we are established under the Capital Markets Act, of course, because that's the act that governs what a depository can do and how to appoint a depository and all that. But it is several companies that came together to meet that need of having a central depository, because prior to that, all the processes at the NSC were manual in terms of trades were done on the board, then captured in the NSC system, but it was manual delivery in terms of the seller would deliver the certificate through the broker would deliver the certificates to NSC, and then the NSC would then take the same to the registrar, who would then cancel the certificate for the seller and create a new certificate for the buyer. And that process was very, very lengthy, and it could actually take months before you get your shares after buying. So several companies came together to establish the CDSC, and that's how we are owned through shares by different companies.
So is there, okay, that's another part that's also curious. So these are the companies that own CDSC. Are you able to reveal who they are, or is really not?
Yes, yeah, it's actually even somewhere there on the website.
Okay.
But we have the NSC, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, that owns around 22.5%.
Okay.
Then we have what is called the Challenge Fund. Several listed companies, around 9 listed companies, came together and formed the Challenge Fund, which owns 50%. Then we have the Association of Stockbrokers, which owns 18%. And then we have what is called an Investor Compensation Fund, which is under the Capital Markets Authority, that owns 7%. And then we also have Uganda Securities Exchange, which owns around 2.5%.
Oh, so would a private citizen be able to buy into these shares to own CDSC, a part of it?
No, it's not possible at the moment because we are not listed. And yeah.
Okay. All right. You do have a few questions here now. This is from Ed, and actually you can unmute yourself if you really want to ask a question to Marion by yourself. Ed is asking, he's still not sure if you answered this question. If shares were going to be on a dormant account, how does one person get in touch with CDSC to transfer to an active account in reference to someone here in the diaspora? So they're not in Kenya. How do they do that?
Okay, at the moment, they need to reach out to their broker or the central depository agent. They can download the form from the website, the CDS1A form, fill it out and sign it, then scan it, then attach a copy of the ID or the passport that they used when opening that account. Then they send those documents to the broker. Then the broker will then initiate the activation in our system. And once we approve them, the account will be active.
Okay, I think you also have the same kind of question from Liz, retrieving their CDS account number if somebody completely forgot what that account number was.
I think what you can do is you send an email to helpdesk@cdsckenya.com and provide your names and your ID number. Then we'll be able to assist you from there.
Okay, so send an email to CDSC.
To helpdesk@CDSC Kenya.
Okay, and that will be under, I think, contact us, right?
Yeah, you could also just go to the contact us tab and just fill the details there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can also say, actually, this worked for me. If you have Instagram, you're following them on Instagram, you can send a private message there, and they're very quick to answer too. So if you need immediate answers and your Instagram, follow their page. They have a wonderful Instagram page. You can follow them and just ask a question there. All right, Tim is asking if one is not sure what shares they own and with which brokers. Can you assist?
Yeah, sure. And I think the best way to go about it is just to download the mobile app. From the mobile app, you'll be able to see all the details. You'll see your brokers, which shares are under each broker, and all the information regarding your account.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Rhoda is asking, when the account is dormant and the market is going strong, does its value continue to grow? So your account is dormant. Yeah, I'm assuming they bought shares, but the account is dormant. And let's say you bought Safaricom at 5, now it's 47, but the account is dormant.
Yes, of course, the shares, the value continues to grow as the price in the exchange grows. The dormancy does not affect anything to do with the shares. Even if there was a bonus issued, you would still get the bonus. If the shares were split, they would still be uploaded into your account. You still continue getting dividends. The only thing is that you can't sell until you activate the account. Yes.
Okay. All right, got another question here. So if you open an account with an ID and you don't have it in the diaspora, you use your passport. So let's say you opened, you bought shares way back using an ID in Kenya. Obviously, you got a passport, travel in the diaspora. Now you are here. That ID probably is actually invalid. What do you do there? Do you update your information? What do you do?
Now that one would be tricky because the only way we can identify you is with the ID that you used to open the account. But if you have like a copy anywhere, the copy will do. Yes.
Okay. All right. This is actually a good question too. This is from Wanja. Britam shares. Doesn't know where they are. So remember, Britam went IPO, and I think at that point you're still on certificates, right? Now, doesn't know where those shares are, never transferred them into electronic. What does she do?
Does that mean she does not have a CDS account?
Actually, I think I had that similar situation. Britam shares, when it went IPO, CDSC was not electronic then. And I think she's still holding the shares in certificate form. Is there a way
Okay, I think
to...
the best way to go about it is to reach out to us through the help desk email, and then we can see how we can search and find whether we'll be able to locate the shares.
Mhm.
But if you have the certificate, with you, you need to open an account with a broker. You need to fill in a CDS2 form. It's the one to convert from the certificate to electronic, and then you submit that through the broker.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Steve, maybe you can answer Jeff there. He's asking the Instagram page. You can post it on chat. That way everybody can access it. If you have that link for Instagram page. Oh yeah, you did at CDSC Kenya. You got it. Yes, it's right there. All right. So Ndego is asking, what is a dormant account? And does it still accrue interest?
Okay. First and foremost, a dormant account is an account that has been flagged as dormant because it has not had transactions for a continuous period of 24 months. Now, once it's marked dormant, the owner of the account will still continue receiving all the interests, if it's a bond, dividends, if it's shares, they still continue receiving all the benefits that are accrued to them.
All right. Steve, you can answer that one too. CDSC phone app. I think you did mention that you can go to Play Store or Apple App Store and download the app, right? For CDSC mobile app. Yeah, you can just get it on Play Store. Or if you're using iPhone, App Store. Okay, a question from Rhoda too. When one has shares and every so often gets notification that their tax has been paid to KRA, how does that work in relation to filing taxes? That's a tough one.
Okay, when you have shares, of course, the tax that is charged is the withholding tax on dividends. And when you're paid dividends, the registrar, the issuer, will deduct the tax according to your tax category. For example, if you are a resident, you are taxed at 5%. If you're non-resident, you're taxed at 10%. Now, once they do that, when they send you the dividend, they also send you the dividend notice. And the dividend notice indicates the exact tax that you have paid, and you can use that for filing. But the issuer already files with KRA that you have already paid that dividend, tax on dividend.
Yeah, withholding tax, yes. Actually, if you look at your dividend statement, you'll see they have deducted already, I think 5%. I don't know how much it is now. They've already deducted. If you, let's say you got a dividend from Kengen, for instance, 1,000 shillings, they already took out 5%. Now they're giving you whatever is left over. I hope we answered that question, Rhoda. If not, you can type it in again if we weren't very clear. Okay, all right. Any other questions? You can unmute yourself if you have a question or just type in the chat box. I'm actually curious now, Marion, about the next presentation we'll be hosting, which will be SLB. You pointed out a little bit about if you own shares, you are holding them for long term, but you can collect some type of interest on those shares by lending them out. Maybe you can go back and just briefly share that. I know we're going to do a presentation on that whole thing, but if you can just briefly tell people what that means.
Okay, securities lending and borrowing is actually very vibrant in developed countries, and it generates billions of dollars in terms of revenue. Now, what securities lending and borrowing is, it is like a temporary transfer of shares from a lender to a borrower. The lender is someone who holds shares in the CDS account. They don't intend to sell them in the near future. So what they do is that they can give the SLB agent the instruction that they want to lend those shares. Now, the lender indicates what they want to earn from lending those shares. And the interest is in a percentage. It's a percentage of the value of the shares, and it is annualized. For example, I have 1 million shares of Safaricom. I say I want to lend them at 5%. So that means if I lend them for the whole year, I will get 5% of the value of those shares. Let's say, for example, since Safaricom is trading at around 40 bob, a million shares, that's 40 million. So you get 5% of the 40 million over a period of 1 year. If you lend for a shorter period, of course, you have to calculate for the number of days that you lend out. So you receive some income from lending out those shares.
And those shares are still, so the amount of money that you lent out, if you get 5%, you're still going to be charged the withholding tax, right?
No, you will not be charged withholding tax. The same way when you sell shares and you get your money, so you're the one to take care of any taxes that are relevant to you. So you
so
just
that's
get
tax-free. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, Jeff is saying something about auction results. How do you actually get to bid? I don't know what auction results on. Is that on short lending maybe?
No, I think he's probably talking about the government bonds, because government bonds are the ones that are sold on auction.
Oh, infrastructure bonds and bills. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are handled by the central bank. Ourselves, we don't handle government securities.
Correct. Yeah, actually, Jeff, we did a presentation on that particular issue last month. If you want us to get you a recording, let me know. Wonderful presentation on how to actually get to bid on infrastructure bonds and bills. Perfect way of diversifying. Yeah, there you go, treasury bills and government bonds. Yeah, so get in touch with me. I'll let you know where we can get a recording or at least help you out in doing that. All right, so any other questions that I can see here? Okay, yep, I don't see other. Any other questions? If you have another question on CDSC, we have their contacts now. If you have.
Hey, Pete.
Yes.
I apologize.
Hey,
Could you repeat what you was talking about, the lending portion of it? Are you saying lending like an infrastructure bond type lending to the government? Lending to who? So at that 5% interest?
Oh, okay. All right, Marion, go back to short lending. I know this is the next presentation we'll do, Amos, but Marion, go ahead and explain that part one more time.
Yes, it is lending your shares, especially the shares that are a part of the NSE 20 share index, Safaricom, EABL, KCB, Equity, and all those. You are able to lend them out to another party, the borrower. Now, the lender can be anyone, an individual or a company, pension schemes, anyone who holds securities, shares in the CDSC. And it is purely equities, and it's the ones that are in the NSE 20 share index. You can lend them out temporarily to a borrower. So a borrower is someone who wants to take advantage of the falling prices in the market, because the share prices are always going up and down. So when they're going up, of course, you can make money by buying when the price is low and selling when the price goes up. But when it's the reverse, the price is going down. Now with SLB, you can also make some money as a borrower. So the borrower would borrow your shares when the price is still high and sell them off. Then later, when the price comes down, they buy them back at a lower price, and therefore they make a profit from the price difference. Now, from that profit that they make, they pay you, the lender, for having used your shares for that specific period of time. Yes, I believe we'll go into more detail when we have that other webinar on securities lending and borrowing.
Correct. Yep, and I know we get a lot of that question every time. Actually, we have courses that we offer, and that's one of the biggest questions a lot of people struggle with, because everybody knows how to buy low and then sell high, and most people don't usually get the concept that you can sell high and buy low. You can always do that too. It's not always buying, you can also sell. So that's one thing that we always cover in all our courses, and it's a fascinating way of participating in the market, because at that point you don't care which direction the market is going. Is it going up? Is it going down? You really don't care. If it's up there, you can sell short. If it's down here, you can buy long, right? Very cool. So I know I will cover some of that. That was one of the major things that I really want us to understand, so that a lot of us have shares in Kenya, but they're just sitting there. Yeah, you collect a dividend, but you can also, on top of the dividend, you can also collect additional revenue if you lend them out for someone that's wanting to sell them short.
Hey,
Pete.
Right.
Yes.
The issue of lending out and taxes.
Okay.
I think we skipped that.
Lending out and taxes. Okay. I think Marion mentioned that actually when you lend out those shares and you probably incur, let's say, for instance, you get 5% revenue from lending out, those are tax-free. You don't get charged taxes on the capital, on that money that you collect.
Yeah,
unless I'm mistaken, Marion, go. If I'm mistaken, go ahead and
I think you will not pay capital gains tax.
Yeah.
But whoever you lend it to, whoever lends you that money, say the financial institution, will report it as an income on your side. So it's an income which generates tax, which you're supposed to pay KRA. But that's a different topic, I guess.
I guess. All right, Marion, are we mistaken?
Yeah, I think he's talking about something else, because it's your shares that you are lending. You are getting some income from the lending of the shares. So there's no really
but isn't all income subject to taxes?
Sorry?
Isn't all income subject to taxes?
Yes, and that's why I said what you'll receive the whole amount from what you lent, and then it's up to you to to file your taxes. The normal way you do with any other income that you have.
Yes. Okay. Correct.
Okay. That makes sense. Yes, it does. All right. Somebody also had a question, I think. Anybody else has a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Tim.
Can an individual participate in borrowing those shares and selling short?
Yes, that is possible.
Okay, and what's the process? You go through a brokerage the same way you do when you're buying stocks long?
Yes, you go through an SLB agent.
Okay. Timothy, we'll cover that topic in length because I think it's a lengthy discussion. And I see already, Marion, I think you're presenting on, is it the 12th? On the website here, it's showing that you're presenting on the 12th somewhere.
No, that one already passed.
Oh, it's already passed. Okay.
Yes,
all right, that's fine. I will go ahead and organize an event for our community in this regard on securities lending, in particular securities lending. And we can have, I think, Marion and probably somebody else presenting to us. I did actually attend one of theirs, and I'm telling you, it's one of the best things that you can probably do for your money sitting in Kenya. Just have it go out and do something with it. But we'll go ahead and schedule something very soon with Marion and Helen and Steve in this particular regard. All right, so I think we are, unless somebody else has a question, we are way past our time. And I think we have done a wonderful job here. Marion, thank you so much for taking us through CDSC, understanding what they do, giving us the contacts, the legal framework. The only one thing that I'm going to mention very quickly is that if this is new to you, this language that you're talking about, going long, going short, investing, all that stuff, you may want probably to consider taking a class and go to our website. You can sign up for beginner class all the way to futures markets. We go into detail of all this stuff. That way you don't get lost. And it's a good idea to understand what you're doing with your money. Whether it's here or in Nairobi, it's a good idea to educate yourself. And I'm so happy that CDSC is part of this journey of educating us and understanding what we do. So with that said, Marion, I'd like to say thank you so much. And Steve, for doing this. I'm sure we'll be in touch again. Timothy, thank you for being part of our team. And everyone else for attending this wonderful presentation. So I'll let everybody go. I'll stop the recording. I can hang out for a couple more minutes if you have a question. But we are done with the presentation, and have a wonderful day.